They were so generous to give us, they're going to be giving us a check today, I think. Well, it's a nice big picture check at least, right? So, but we thought we'd have the construction classes come in and have them speak to you because you guys hopefully would have a little more interest than a lot of the other students here. So we want to try to kind of give back to them some maybe potential employees maybe down in the future, but if nothing else, give you guys a little education on how the modular type of construction process works, and then maybe if you guys were interested in pursuing a future in that or looking into it more, then they'd be a really good resource for you. So this is Kevin and Rich. They're the two owners of Coastal Modular, and sorry,
Timmy's.
Is at the plant, right,
Yep.
that you guys have.
Yep.
So they're going to talk to you today about some of the things that they have and maybe answer some questions and about some things that maybe you were wondering about how modular construction works. And then I think after that we're going to go to the construction class and then see what you guys are working on and make some connections there between what they're doing and then what you guys are doing. So I'll turn it over to Kevin and Rich.
Yeah, thanks guys for letting us come see you guys today. And this could just be an open discussion. Feel free to get questions, get some feedback, that'd be great. But I guess essentially, I'm not sure how much you guys know about modular homes and how they're constructed compared to site-built, stick-built homes. So, feel free to let us know how much you do know or don't know. We have a video that we can show you. We set a house down in Stafford Township last winter, and the film crew from the school here came down and took some video. So we can pop it up first if you want, just to see a typical modular home set, and then we can discuss the differences between stick modular, advantages, disadvantages, stuff like that. So.
This version doesn't have the sound on there.
Oh, that's fine.
So we have some speed video going on here.
Yeah, it's a nice cold day. That's another thing with modular. It's built in a factory. The only cold day is May 7th. Typically we use about a 90 or 120 ton crane. This particular house was large, so we had to go with a 200 ton. So this was the counterweights to balance the weight.
One of the major advantages when site builders are delayed because of weather, we're not, because we're built indoors. This first box was lifted when I got about 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was a 4-box home, and we were set and in place by 12:30 by lunchtime.
Yeah, the goal is to have all modular units. Most of these 2-story homes is 4 modular boxes. Have them set by lunch, then they work on the roof system in the afternoon. So at the end of the day, weather tight, the roof is up, shingled. So if it rains that night, everything's protected.
So you finish the house in 1 day?
Yeah, the set is 1 day. I'll let Timmy is here from Durable Homes. That's the modular factory that we use, so he can speak about that as well. But typically, a 2,500 square foot house is built in about 10 days at the factory. So similar to kind of what you guys are doing, building it inside here. The modular factory is similar. We got the raw lumber sits on one end of the factory, and they start with the floor system, and then it moves down, and then the walls go up. One of the main differences between site-built and modular is we almost build the house inside out, compared to building on site where you're building the exterior frame and then working inside. I'll let Tim talk about that as well. But
Well, he hit it right. It is about 10 days. Obviously, we have a schedule. We could be a few weeks out. But once it hits the factory line, we start with the floors. Everything's built on a jig. So once the floor is built, we square it, make sure it's going to be perfect as it goes down the line. We build all of our exterior walls on jigs, all of our interior walls on jigs. They're all lifted with cranes onto the floor system. We have a system where it's on wheels, where that box literally just wheels down the factory line. As it gets up through the line, we have different sections. As he said, we built from the inside out. All the walls, we already have the drywall on the inside. So when we set the walls, we're running the exterior. Before we run the exterior sheathing and everything, we're wiring, plumbing, doing everything that needs to be done before we start to cover the building in. From insulation, our values, R19 exterior wall standard. We can go up to R21, R30 in the ceilings will be standard. We can go to R38. In today's market, we're also starting to get some consumers looking to maybe do some type of foam seal to get the higher R values. So we can work with that in the near future here. When the walls are built, a big difference, and we're not in competition with the site builders. We're just another option. A lot of people think we're all against each other, but we're not. The guys I'm trying to go get are site builders because, in my opinion, they're the guys that are going to want to try to maybe do a little bit more business. We're not here to compete. We're just here to help. If a guy can go from doing 10 houses a year to 30, because he has to have less labor, less overhead in his company, then we're here to support that builder to do that. So the biggest thing I think that modular industry goes after is that we're in competition. We're not. We're just offering another avenue, and with that avenue, I guess, as society changes and the needs, especially as you see here in New Jersey with Sandy, we're just a quicker method. 20 years ago, I couldn't even compete with a stick builder because his designs were so much more elaborate than I was able to accomplish in the factory. But what it's come down to in the past few years with LVLs and steel flitch plates and other advances, we are now able to almost literally compare and match exactly what stick builders are doing to an extent. I'm about 95% now. There are some things I can't achieve that they can. One of them being ceiling heights. I'm at most 9 feet on the ceiling height, maybe a 9.6 if possible, depending on where it's being transported to. But that's my biggest limitation is ceiling height, and the only reason is our infrastructure. If I build it any taller than that, we're not getting down the highways.
Yeah, and I can attest to that too. You know, when I started, it was about 15 years ago, Tim and I have been working together the whole time. In the design end, which, you know, I'll sit down with a homeowner and design a house from scratch in our office, there was design limitations compared to what stick builders were doing compared to modular. But over the years, every year I'm able to, you know, go with larger spans and different design techniques. So essentially now it's whatever you can do stick build, we're doing at the factory. Minus a couple items, but that's a big plus as well. And just to give you an idea time-wise, it might take him 10 days to build that house and deliver it to us. It's 1 day to set it on the foundation, and the day that we set it, the house is essentially 80% done. Sheetrock, it's painted, wall switches are in, ceiling fixtures, lights, all that stuff. But it does generally take about 12 weeks to finish that house from set to CO. So that's one of the big advantages for the homeowners. You know, we can have that CO, so from set to CO in 12 weeks. Where, and we do stick build as well because there's certain sites that there's wires all over the place. I can't get a crane in there. So we do stick build as well. We've got 3 projects going on right now in that format. It's just for the speed from set to completion to have a homeowner back in their home in 3 months compared to 6, 8. You know, with conventional stick, it's a big benefit. The other thing too, I'll let Tim touch upon some of this. Some of the building techniques that we can do inside a climate-controlled warehouse, you can't do in the field. Mention some of the glues that we're using to really seal the homes up.
Yeah, everything in our house, just because our main goal is to deliver a finished product that is in one piece. Obviously, down here, these homes are traveling 250 miles, 55 miles an hour, maybe 60 miles an hour. So everything we build is not only screwed, it's also glued. So when we install our drywall, we put a bead of glue down. It's a special glue that's going through all kinds of testing to make sure it's right for the house. But what it comes down to is as we glue it, we screw it, we put it in place, our biggest concern is keeping everything intact. So unlike a stick-built home, some differences with the modular, you're about 20 to 30% more lumber because of how I have to build it. Everything's a double perimeter, double girder. If you're doing a 2-story, we also have a 2x12, 2x6 ceiling assembly with a 2x12 perimeter. So when you set a 2-story, you have about a 22-inch gap between floors. So if you can imagine, unlike a conventionally built home, we have to stack on top of each other. So you do get a little bit taller of a unit with the mod, of a home with the mod. But the biggest part about the glues is as the house is finished and we're moving up and before we insulate, we'll actually take that glue and bead each stud in the cavity as we go down through the factory just to give it a little bit more strength. Another thing that we do that's a little different that you don't see because it's all behind the walls, wherever there's an interior wall in the box, we'll put a 2x6 on the outside and we'll lag that 2x6 to that interior wall. The main reason we do that is less flexibility in the box. Between the travel, the crane picking it up, you're going to get some movement. So within the factory, we're using more lumber, glues, just to help keep the product intact. The crane today, the set with the flexing that you get, with us lagging the interior walls, the glue, we'll leave some drywall in, some openings, so you get less stress in those areas. We've come over the past couple of years, I think Kevin can attest to that, where the drywall now, if you are going to have some touch-up, the drywall's come a long way in the industry just because of the glue.
That's right. Another huge benefit is, these homes are very energy efficient due to some of these techniques, the glues that we're using. It's almost at an Energy Star level right out of the factory. One thing a lot of homeowners tell us after their first winter is they'll look at their energy bills. They might have had a 1,200 square foot cape that was an old home with a lot of energy leaks through the windows and such. And their bills to heat the house are under $150 a month. So that's the reason is because it's so tight. There's even some homes that I have to bring in fresh air because it's so tight. We have a fan that we install that allows fresh air into the home. And building green, I mean, I'll let Tim touch upon that as well, but green construction is one of those big components that's going on right now. With all the lumber that is cut and discarded on site, we're actually using a lot of that discarded material in the homes.
In most cases, anything that's considered, we call them end cuts. Anything we're cutting off, we use throughout the house. It's backing for kitchen cabinets. All of your bathrooms where you have your mirrors will have backing behind that. So if you ever remove a mirror, you always have wood-to-wood contact. We use a lot of the wood around all the windowsills, so that the windows, so that if you are putting drapes up, you're actually going wood to wood instead of drywall. I'm sure we've all seen with the drywall, it all comes falling out. So we do take all of our leftover end cuts and try to use it within the house. Kevin made a comment about our houses being Energy Star. We actually, without even trying to be Energy Star, the way we actually build our houses basically produces it. We took one of our houses a few years back and did that blower test that they have to do in the house to get the pass for Energy Star. And we didn't build the house to Energy Star, but we passed the blower test. So in most cases, before a wall is set on the floor, we're using glues and caulkings, which create, so you don't have any air infiltration. Every wall that's connected is glued, so you have no air infiltration. When you get to the ceiling assemblies, the point I didn't make out earlier, all of our ceiling assemblies are built on a jig, and we actually don't use any screws in our ceiling drywall. The ceiling drywall will actually be glued only. So you have no nail pops or screw pops in the future. You get a cleaner ceiling, so when the lights are on, you don't get any of the waviness. So our drywall on our ceilings isn't even screwed. And for a while there, a lot of people were taking that as a negative for our industry, that we're not using screws. But in reality, with the way that this glue was tested, it worked so well that you didn't need screws. So you had a better finish on your ceiling, less complaints from consumers because of nail pops and things like that.
Yeah, right. Another big difference, site built to modular. The state of New Jersey literally seals every single plan that we turn into building permits. We go through a high wind engineering process because everything we're building down here is 120-mile winds. But the state of New Jersey actually has a company called PFS that goes to every single modular home factory. There's an employee at every single, what is there, 30, 40 factories out there?
Yes, they've shown up.
Yeah. So we can't even deliver the house until the state inspector has gone through the entire house and made sure exactly what we're building is what was on the plans as well. And another major thing that you'll see is there's quite a bit more metal hurricane strapping in these homes. I like to say it's over-engineered. I mean, there's thousands of dollars in strapping that goes into this, but for the homeowner, the end user, it's peace of mind knowing that these homes are going to withstand hurricanes like Sandy and other disasters as well. So,
And on that note, we are scrutinized more than the site builder.
definitely.
Site builder gets away with a lot more than that I can. I have to go through so many different more steps, different approvals, and like Kevin said, the amount of straps we use compared to the site builders is way more for some reason. We're over scrutinized. I think the industry for quite a time is scrutinized more because people just don't understand it. They hear modular and they're thinking about a trailer or double wide that you're bringing down the road, you know, and you're living in it, and, you know, it's on a frame. So I think until we have more education into society to really see what modulars are, we'll get a better understanding. You guys are in the young generation here moving up into the building industry. The question becomes, do you take on a new system to see if you'd be willing to work with mods, or do you stick with the old site build? There's nothing wrong. Both of them are the same. As I said, I'm not in competition. I'm just another avenue to provide a service to your customer.
Yeah. Another knock over the years, I've done about 150, 160 modules over the years. And like I said, early, around 1999, 2000, you see a lot of boxy modular homes, square, rectangular, boring designs. So, I'll see if I can show some of the finished homes that I've done locally. Go to gallery. These are, over the years, I've just been putting up some of the homes.
That gray one right there is the seaside.
Gray ones in Seaside, Kev?
This actually is one of our stick built, believe it or not. But all the rest are modular on here. This is the house that you just saw being set on the video. This one, the one on the top left there. Right on the water. So, what we end up doing, though, typically, is building the porches and decks, and decks as well as detached garages. We do stick both those on site. It just doesn't make sense to transport that down the highway. The different designs. The factory's now enabling me to do all kinds of different dormer designs. That dormer, one of a kind. It just came in one piece, and the crane dropped it on top, and we're able to bolt that down. But these are some of the designs. People say modular, very boxy. Some of these, I would say, try to, even the stick-built units that I see. I mean, there's just very neat designs that we're doing now. Yeah, so you see most of these are between 22 and 3,000 square feet.
And as you look at some of those designs, the best part about working with Coastal, for myself, I basically provide him the shell. Depending on what type of customer he's working with, they put their own special touches to it. So I can help them get the majority of the structure done, and they go in and put the final touches on it, porches, decks, and some of the other neat things that their customers are looking for in this general area. Because we do work up and down the East Coast. So for us, New Jersey's a little bit of a different market. Different designs, trying to go outside the box. This guy's cost me more in outside engineering than I think any other company in the past 10 years, because everything he does I have to send somewhere else and have him stamp it. But basically what it comes down to, and the one point I wanted to point out why the pictures are up. Everybody asks how you deliver that down the road and the roof system, right? You can see they all have pretty nice roof pitches. Kevin does a lot of 9-12, 12-12 roofs depending on the design. But in most cases, if it's a true rafter roof system, are you guys familiar with gussets here? Where you have the gusset plate, you have the fold, the rafter folds down. So in a true rafter roof system, we use the gusset system. But then we also have what we refer to as a storage truss system. So the main reason, the only way we can get it down the highway is not only will the rafter then fold down, with these trusses we're working with, they have collapsible knee walls and they're on a hinge point. So the truss will actually fold down too. So basically the roof system is on top of the second floor. When the house shows up, the crane lifts up the roof and there it is. So basically it's either a true gusset rafter roof system or a truss that is hingeable that folds.
Any questions? And feel free to ask us anything.
First house you ever built, this is still Spanish, still.
Yes. Yeah, the first one I did, gosh, 99, Belmar. Oh yeah, I mean, there's another neat survey that was taken after Sandy. These homes, because there's so much strapping and connections to the foundation, there was a shot of, I think, 10 or 12 homes that were built in the 50s, blown over with one modular home standing completely undamaged. So, like Tim said, there's about 30% more lumber in these homes, so they can withstand a lot more of the winds and reflections. Yeah.
And that's a great question, because actually the governor of Massachusetts was probably the biggest proponent of our system of building a couple years ago. Unlike Sandy here, there wasn't much press that went out about, hey, this mod is still standing. But up in Massachusetts on the Cape, the governor was going through after a major storm and looking at all the damage. And he was standing in front of a mod that was still sitting there, and the whole other neighborhood was gone. And the governor basically stood there and said, this should be the future of building. Anything that's built on this shore better be this. And it was basically because it was still standing. Once again, we're not in competition with stick builders. It's just that it seems it can be a better system for high wind areas where you have basically damage being done to buildings as water's pounding them from the surf. So at this point, we are only, believe it or not, at this point 5 to 6% of the market. So we're still in the infancy stage. There's a big future in this industry because it's only going to get harder and harder to build. Less skilled labor, unless you guys are going to get into it. That's my biggest thing I've seen. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. And the biggest thing I've seen is my older customers. When I say older, I just mean they've been building for 40, 50 years. They're starting to retire. Nobody's taking their place. So what it comes down to is we need good young labor into the market to continue to help not only with my industry, but the site building industry.
Yeah, and since Sandy, obviously, I'm sure you've all seen the amount of modular homes coming up is almost doubling from pre-Sandy. So you'll see those levels rising. I think the projection in 10 years is what they hope to be around 30% of the market.
Well, we would love to be, but I think the main reason the industry won't be is because we don't work together. The modular industry is fragmented. We don't work together, so until we do, I don't think we will ever get to 30%.
Right.
When you guys go into construction,
Let me go first on that one. How are you doing? I actually have a teaching degree. I
So do I.
have a teaching degree. I was teaching and ended up meeting somebody who wanted me to come down and talk to him. And he brought me up the factory line and was, this is what I'm doing. He's like, check this out. He's like, I think you'd be great to work for me. I want to bring you into my company. And I was like, I already have a job. You know, I went to school for this. But then after, the factory tour, talking, I went home, I thought about it, and to be honest, I thought this was the way of the future. It was different. Now, I did want to teach. There was a lot of reasons I wanted to teach. I had a lot of teachers that affected me. But at this point, I made the decision to get into the industry because I was just so fascinated with it and saw it as the way of the future.
For me, it was just opportunity. I own a marketing business in New York City as well. The storm happened, and I had some connections. And my passion is in building businesses and coming into an industry that I feel has so much potential was exciting to me, and surrounding myself with people who know what they're doing. Pretty much it.
You guys do tours of the factories?
Yeah, I'll let Tim touch on that, but
Sure.
hopefully maybe we can get a trip up there if you guys are interested. Central Pennsylvania is where the majority of the modular home factories are, so it is a bit of a drive, especially on a bus.
Well, they'll put us up in a hotel.
There you go.
We've already discussed it. If we can get you guys up there to see it, that'd be great. But if not, maybe I can do a factory tour with a camera and send it down to you guys, and you can look at it here.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of homeowners I deal with, there's some misconception. There's a lot of the trades. Once we set that modular home, like Tim said, it's almost a shell. All the HVAC, ductwork included, we do on site. The electrician, he essentially takes all the bundles of wire, feeds it into the panel box, and does the service mast. Plumbing, we have to interconnect all these boxes with the plumbing, drain, supply, everything. Run the gas lines. So there is still a lot of site work going on. Finished trades, we're still sheet rocking where the boxes are coming together. There's some trim work that we're doing. A lot of homeowners are deleting kitchens from the factory and using local companies. So there's a fair amount of trades that locally have to help us out to finish these homes. Majority of it, at least from our company, and I'll let Tim talk about the rest of the country, is typically from Belmar down the seaside. Not so much going on out west and how Freehold and beyond. So it's really shore communities.
That's starting. They just get a few clients now.
No. Before the storm, Tim and I have done about 150 homes around the area. Since the storm, yeah, obviously there's a big push to get homeowners back in their homes. So we're working on 38 contracts right now, and we have 7 homes on the ground, 2 more coming next month. Up to January, we have what, eight more homes coming? So a lot of homes coming down the road. Yeah, Sandy certainly increased the amount of work that we have, but certainly even without the storm, there was quite a bit of work coming.
So now that we're in the second, we're in the moment of graduation, how can one apply to want to get things?
Yeah. Would you be more interested in the factory side or finishing the homes on site? Factory, yes. That's your boy right
Want to go
there.
to Central Pennsylvania?
No,
There's plenty of opportunity at factories. Right now, my factory's probably only at about 30% to 40%. So I could double my work right now if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Door-built homes has been around for 5 years. The factory's been around for 40. New ownership came in. So we've been trying to grow slowly. We're trying to do it the right way. We'll be one of the only modular factories. There are a couple, but not many really know what goes into a house. I know exactly how much caulk I use, how many nails go into a house, how many pieces of sheeting. We know everything about that box from the beginning to the end. So when it comes down to it, we're in a slow growth process right now. So if I wanted to, I could turn around and double my production right now, if I wanted to. But we're trying to grow slowly with the right builders to make sure that as we do grow, it's the right way.
But certainly there's employment opportunities, I'm sure, out there,
Yes.
right? Like Tim said, a lot of the older employees are all retiring now, and not many young people want to get into the building trades. You know, they're doing computers or internet and all that other stuff, which is great, but the trades is where there's a massive opportunity, especially building, plumbing, electric. It's hard to find skilled labor.
Do you do anything with like solar panels or stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a solar company that we kind of partner with. I've had a couple homeowners do that. Essentially, yeah, it's the same roof as a stick-built home. So solar company comes in, kind of figures out what's the best angle for the most sunlight, and they'll install it right on top of our roof.
What are you looking for to hire somebody? What would be their advantage?
What are your
Well, I guess at the factory, there's multiple different places. We have our framers, our floor framers, our wall framers, and as well, we have our drywall guys, sheathing, insulation guys, windows. See, on our line, you have to have multiple skills. I guess what I mean by that is some guys might be doing floors, and depending on what's going on, if the line's getting slowed down, they might have to come up and help. So in reality, when you come to work for us, if you're only good at one thing, by the time you leave there, we're looking to build you up to be good at a lot of things. Because we're looking for our employees to move around depending on where we need the help.
That's a personal question. For me, I did a lot of renovations now, and if I were to go and ask for a job for you, and I said, okay, I can do this, I can do this, the starting point will be the same pay as everybody else, or will you need more?
Yeah, we have an entry rate starting rate, and then after 60 days, if we feel you're a team player and you're going to be involved and you're going to move forward, and you get an automatic raise after the 60 days. And then from there, it really comes from how good you are. Everything, as it goes down the factory line, there's eyes on you. So if you're a good employee and you're there, and you, as again, team player, we're big on team players because we're building somebody's dream home. So we've got to make sure everybody on our line is doing it the right way. And as he said, we have so many inspectors that come through our factory from the state, from local areas in Pennsylvania, if we're building a house in Pennsylvania. But what it comes down to is making sure you do everything the right way. We're not hiding anything. We don't not insulate a bay because we ran out of insulation, let's just hide it and send it down the line. Everything is looked at. So the pay in the modular industry, once again, you got to remember, central Pennsylvania is a little different than here. That's one reason why modulars are becoming more and more popular in New Jersey and even Massachusetts. Massachusetts has a high labor rate. So you see a lot of builders in Massachusetts switching over to this just to try to save their consumers some money and try to get them in a little bit lower than what it costs them to frame it in the Boston area up that way because they have a very high labor rate.
Is it cheaper to go modular or?
Yeah, good question, yeah. On a typical, let's call it two-story, 2,200 square foot home, we're generally coming in, depending on, are you upgrading the hardwoods and upgraded siding and things like that, but anywhere from about $100 to $150 a square foot finished with everything. Where I know we're doing quite a few stick projects and we're somewhere probably around $180 at that point. So it's substantially different, yeah. Great cost savings.
If you're under 1,500 square feet, there's a savings to site build because you're not carrying the cost of the crane, set crews, and transportation. So there is a threshold where it does make sense to stick build.
And those are those stick build projects that we're working on. Small, 1,000-foot branches and capes over in Barrier Island. Doesn't make sense, like Rich said. The crane costs probably us $4,000 a day. The set crew is probably $6,000, $7,000 for the day. Transporting the boxes from Pennsylvania is not cheap either. Typically on a 4-box delivery, we're somewhere around $10,000, right? Just in delivery. So if you add all that up, if you're building a small home, all that cost might cost for all the framing lumber. So there are times where obviously we prefer to stick up on some homes, but generally anything over about 1,500 square feet, you get the cost savings with the modular.
Hey guys, can we, some great questions. I want to kind of have some time to move down to the shop also. So maybe we can just do our little presentation here and then we'll move down there.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Our phone work.
Thank you, Tim.
Did you want to photo op?
Okay, I have a 2-year program, and they built starting from learning how to do blueprints all the way to the finished stage of what you see now. Okay, so that's what my program is about. Chris, where are you?
Right over here.
You get to speak too, Chris.
I probably should have.
I don't know if I told either. You can tell them about your program.
All right. Well, holy cow. My name is Chris Sullivan. I teach the New Home Construction Program. It's a post-secondary program. And Ocean County VOTEC has partnered with Habitat for Humanity. Don Steve is our construction supervisor from Habitat. And what we do is we take our post-secondary students, adults, and we teach them how to build a house in a hurry. It's a 10-month program, and we go from the foundation up. We frame the house from frame to finish. Vocational students from our apprenticeship classes come in and do the electrical, plumbing, and heating. And last year was our first build, and we turned the house around in 10 months. And currently there's a family who was in need living there right now, doing very well. We're on our second build this year, and everything's going along nicely except for the weather that we're experiencing. It's been a little difficult so far. But my program, or our program, the New Home Construction Program, is an accelerated course to take guys who are interested in being in the trades, from frame to finish, and getting them out in the field. And we had a 100% employment rate last year. So I was thrilled to have that, and we had a 0% injury rate last year as well, which is the most important thing, guys. Safety on the job, whatever you guys are doing, even at home, safety, safety, safety. It's critical that we practice that. And So it's, like I say, it's an accelerated program designed to put guys out in the workforce as a result of Superstorm Sandy, and we've had great success so far. Looking forward to having great employment and injury-free year again this year. Thank you guys for coming to join us.
Thank you for showing us.
So happy. All of these students are going to be looking for jobs, guys. Get their business cards with their phone numbers.
Any closing remarks or anything they think they should?
No, this has been great.
Any final questions from anybody? I know we have about 5 more minutes or so.
Then I have in the truck.
But I got a question. Even though you are based out of Pennsylvania, and like I see a lot of modular homes coming up the shore and all that. With your appointment, you know what, basically us living in New Jersey and all that. Would you? It's like, is it? How can I put this? The question is, to put the house together. You know, if we was working for you and we didn't want to be in the factory, we just wanted to put the house together. Would we still have to relocate to Pennsylvania, or
No. And just to clarify, Tim works for Durbuilt Homes. That's our manufacturer. He's in Pennsylvania. I live in Brick. He lives in Farmingdale. Our office, Coastal Modular, is right in Bayhead. So we do all of the construction here. It's a partnership in the sense that I can't do my job unless Tim sends me the house. Okay. So while Tim's in PA handling the factory, we're local. Yeah, we have about 10 or 12 employees right now. Yeah, so.
What's the best way for these guys to contact you if they're interested in?
I'll go outside. I got a bunch of business cards I can.
You can also go on the website. There's a form that you can fill out there with your contact information if you want to attach a resume or something like that. That could work.
Yeah, we're always looking for good employees. So. Yeah.
All right.
So you don't have to move to PA.
You said something about setting up some apprentice programs. Some helpers.
Yeah, we've been talking about that and putting together an apprentice program. So we'll post that. Check out our Facebook page, and we have a Twitter account that you can follow, and we'll post that stuff as the program develops. And we can apply for it.
And for the internship, what would that require for like one of us to get into the internship?
We haven't put the program together yet, but it's just basically we'll post it out on our social media channels once we develop the idea, and then if it's something that interests you, then we can take it from there. We'll set up a meeting in the office, sit down with you guys, give you a full scope of what the internship is in Bayhead.
We're in Bayhead, yeah, right on Bridge Ave. I'll make sure I go out and get some business cards for you guys, just so you know.
The teacher or something.
Yeah.
Teachers. I know these guys will be here a couple more minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I just parked out front, so.
All right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
I just wanted to know that, does that, when the house shows up, it just goes through that these guys are on the site, so if the kids have any questions, we can
I'll give it some more away.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted, just in case, there's a lot of information there that has to happen.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.